If you have the kind of salesperson memory where you can remember them, you remember what they bought, and you can show them something that will go with that, that's when you have that loyalty following.
You're listening to Thrive by Design, business, marketing, and lifestyle strategies for your jewelry brand to flourish and thrive. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast, episode number 114. I am excited to be here. It's Tracy Matthews. And if you haven't been hiding under a rock, you know that we've been doing a very special podcast series this week. One podcast a day for 5 days. And today is episode 4 in our digital marketing momentum series. And I'm excited to be here. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm the Chief Visionary Officer over at Flourish and Thrive Academy. And I love bringing you digital marketing strategy so that you can sell more online with your business. And today is no exception. It's going to be a great episode. I have a special guest on the show today, Kathleen Cutler. She's been on our podcast many times talking about Facebook ads, which is amazing. And today we'll be talking about how to use paid traffic and automation to sell more on Autopilot on your website. So this episode with Kathleen was really amazing. And you're going to probably notice some synchronicity with the episode that I did with Melissa Camilleri Anasich on Tuesday, which was part 2 in the series. And you might also see a connection between how all this traffic and automation sort of weaves into your bigger digital marketing strategy. So if you haven't done it yet, I would really, really encourage you to do something amazing right now and download our Digital Marketing Momentum Scorecard. I have a hard time saying it. I've been saying it all week, and it's a little bit of a tongue twister. This is a totally free resource for you to help you decipher where you are in business with your digital marketing and your online selling strategy. Because I know a lot of us would really like to, be selling out of products on our website, be waking up in the morning to a plethora of orders in our inbox, and to be selling when we're not actually working on it and getting things automated in a way so that it becomes easy and we're doing less work and we're able to actually scale our efforts, right? Right. So I know tons of really smart marketers who are scaling their e-commerce brands all the time, tweaking, tinkering behind the scenes to get the most impact. And I'm very excited about today because we have a very special guest, Kathleen Cutler from KathleenCutler.com, who's going to be sharing some really amazing tips about automation and how all this stuff sort of works together with paid advertising. So if you haven't downloaded the scorecard yet, head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/marketing scorecard, or you can download it right here on the show notes over at flourishthriveacademy.com/episode 114. And this scorecard is going to really show you where you are in business. And we're going to kind of weave this all together to share a little program that we released this week called the Strategic Online Success Accelerator. And this is all about teaching you how to use digital marketing, graphic design, branding, website conversion to sell more online, whether it be e-commerce in your online shop, or whether it be having a business like me where you're getting a lot of leads and traffic and conversion from your online sales. And Kathleen's amazing. I'm very, very excited to have her on the show. So we'll dive into the interview in just a moment, or a little chat. It's not really an interview. Just talk about strategy together. Before I do, I'd love to take a word from our sponsor. Today's sponsor for the show is Shopify. I love Shopify as an amazing website platform, especially for those of you who are really trying to elevate and scale your e-commerce business. There are a couple reasons why I love Shopify. Not only is it a very robust platform that has a ton of apps and different things like abandoned cart sequences, upsells, cross-sells, messenger bots like Melissa was talking about on Tuesday. It's a great platform because it keeps growing with the updated technology. So you're going to be at the forefront of e-commerce as you start to drive more traffic to your online store. So check out Shopify. We've negotiated a really awesome deal over here at Flourish and Thrive. You can head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/Shopify. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/Shopify. And once you head on over there, you can grab your free week trial. If you decide that you love Shopify as much as many of the designers in our community do, you can get 10% off your monthly subscription. So check it out, flourishthriveacademy.com/Shopify. All right, let's dive into today's episode. All right, today part of our series is we're talking with Kathleen Cutler, and I'm really excited today because we're going to talk about how the interconnection of digital marketing, email automation, and paid advertising intersect to really grow your online sales, your e-commerce shop, or whatever you want to call it, your sold out shop, as we like to say over here at Flourish and Thrive. So Kathleen, welcome.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me, Tracy, and Flourish and Thrive community.
I am super excited to have you back on the show. We've had you on our show, I think, twice already, right?
Yeah, we've done a few shows together, and we'll be in New York live together next week, in fact.
Yes. We're going to be at Flourish and Thrive Live, which I think by the time this airs, it's going to be a couple days after the event is over, which is very exciting.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Super exciting. So I wanted to bring Kathleen on the show today because not only is she a Facebook ads whiz, but she is really someone who I think approaches digital marketing and e-commerce strategy from a 360-degree view, because she's looking at how everything intersects and interconnects. And that's what she did for Market Square Jewelers. For those of you who don't know, Kathleen has a jewelry background. You used to design jewelry, correct?
I did. I sat on the bench for Rebecca Brooks Jewelry, which is based out of Northampton, Mass. And she had 3 brick and mortar stores. So produced all of her handmade pieces. And then from there, helped her with some social media and blogging, and then ended up in her retail location selling jewelry as well. So really wore a lot of hats, as I know many of the designers you work with do.
Yes.
And then from there, I moved to Market Square Jewelers, which is based here in where I live now, the Portsmouth, New Hampshire area, and 4 brick and mortar locations. And I sold on their sales floor and then moved into their e-commerce sector, where I fell in love with the puzzle that I know a lot of your designers are curious about as well. Built this gorgeous website, took about a year to build. Now what? How do I get people here? I know I've got a great product. I sell it in stores. I sell it online with Etsy. And now I just need more people in my shop.
Exactly. And you cracked the code for Market Square Jewelers.
You cracked the code. I continue to try to crack the code. It's an ever-changing code, which is I love. I think it's really fun to keep up with everything that changes. But I know it's a lot. So I'm excited to chat with you today about the different pieces.
Awesome. So you've kind of spoken about Facebook ads in a very specific way, but I want to just hear a little bit more about your journey into digital marketing in the jewelry space and why you started becoming so obsessed with email automation and how that connects to the ads. So we kind of have a little bit of background here, but if you want to elaborate a little bit more, that would be awesome.
Sure, I'd love to. So, as I mentioned, we had products that were selling out on Etsy. So we knew that there was a huge online market for our pieces. And we did a huge website build, as I'm sure so many people are familiar with, where we tweaked everything and we didn't want to launch on a Thursday because we thought it'd be too busy. So we waited and, we just thought the floodgates would open as soon as we opened our door. And we opened our doors to nobody knowing anything about us. Especially if you sell on Amazon or Etsy, they aren't your clients. We had people who were so loyal and they'd come back again and again to purchase, but we couldn't contact them outside of our Etsy relationship. And the third-party apps are set up very strategically like that. They're amazing. Certainly you give Etsy a cut, you give Amazon a cut, you give Ruby Lane a cut, all these things. You get more sales, but they aren't your people. So we really knew we wanted our own website, and we knew we needed 1, more traffic, but 2, for fine jewelry, once they come to this shop, it's not the end of the relationship. You're not selling $20. Most of your designers, I imagine, aren't selling $20 items that are an impulse purchase. Lots of times you're doing custom work like you do, Tracy. We sold engagement rings, which typically always require an in-person conversation. They either came into our physical location, they would chat with us on our chat bot, they would give us a call, they would email us. So I spent a lot of time researching and trying to figure out how can we get our sales people to have these conversations a little bit more quickly? What kind of resource can we build that we had a full-time woman who just answered questions. So she just sat in front of the computer and answered questions about engagement rings and took pictures on her hands and videos and measurements and sizing requests. And because we had 4 locations, she drove around. So I spent a lot of time thinking, how can I make her job easier? And that's really when email automation started to come into play in a big way through, I always think of email as kind of your best salesperson, especially there's two different things I think of with email. We have newsletters, which is what people are typically thinking of. And then we have the core email that goes automatically and starts to be kind of your, I don't know if it's like a dynamite salesperson. It's like your best salesperson who works all the time. They don't need a day off. They just sell for you. And especially with high-end items, it's imperative to have some of these pieces of infrastructure set up. Otherwise, you just get traffic in and then people leave and they forget about you.
Yeah. So especially what are some of the emails in a sequence like that you would this be someone like opting into your website opt-in, or like where are they coming into your sales funnel? As I'm putting air quotes in the air. You can't see me right now, but
I can see your air quotes. So it's a great question. And I'm actually I love that you talked that we love to talk in this 360 big picture view. So I'm going to zoom out for a moment and then I'm going to go back in.
Okay, cool.
Of where people fit in. Because I think people hear funnel and then they think, oh,
scary.
This is this digital advertising. I'm out. This isn't for me. But what I love to, and because I was a jewelry designer and because I work with so many artists, I know that they're such visual people. And lots of this gets really theoretical really quickly. Yeah. You're talking to web designers, you're talking to other digital advertisers, and these terms get thrown around. But a funnel is just like someone walking into your jewelry store. They've never been in before and you have their first conversation, but they don't buy anything right away. They might leave. So at that point, we've had, and I'm air quoting here, but we have someone who's cold, so they don't know you. So that's someone who walks by the store. They walk into the store for the first time. They're starting to get warmed up. They have that initial conversation with you. At this point, I'm always picturing the jewelry store I used to work in, which was on a corner, and people would walk in and then maybe they walk right out. They don't even want to talk to you. But at that point, they know something about you. They've started to know that you exist. Maybe they're like filing you and your store away for a gift potentially, or for a watch battery change. If you have a physical location, they now know you exist in the world. So at that point, they're a warm client, and maybe they've started to talk engagement rings with you. Maybe they've taken an engagement ring out of the case and they're just talking about what they like, what they don't like, but they don't buy right away. At that point, again, if you start to think online terms, that's someone who's abandoned a cart, and my hands are in quotes. But at that point, someone has looked at something, shown interest, but not completed the purchase.
Yep.
So at that point, we have cold audience, people who've just walked by, maybe walked in. We have a warm audience, and typically you have two layers, someone who's just had a conversation versus someone who's shown a lot more purchase intent by maybe narrowing down the exact piece they want, but needing to go talk to their best friends, talk to their mom, talk to the bank, depending on how big the item is. So those are the two sectors. But a big sector that I think a lot of e-commerce stores miss that is the most profitable and fun and exciting sector, I think, is the loyalty sector. So people who've purchased from you once before, getting them to re-engage with you, to come back into your shop is where I see the big e-commerce stores make most of their money, certainly. And then also even small e-commerce stores and physical locations. Like if you think of someone walking in and you sold them blue sapphire Victorian engagement ring and they come in 6 months later. And if you have the kind of salesperson memory where you can remember them, you remember what they bought, and you can show them something that will go with that, that's when you have that loyalty following. So when we say funnel, all we're talking about is that. How do we move someone who's never heard of you to a loyalty fan, to an evangelical fan? How can you support them through that process? Because if you just drive people to your website, you can have the best website in the world, but you need to help them along the way for these higher price point purchases.
Yeah. And even I feel like the lower price, people are more apt to buy lower price point things online, but there's also ways to capture attention. So we're going to just see where this conversation goes, because I think there's a lot of little interesting nuggets that are going to be pulled out here. But I wanted to ask you a question. Do you have any how do you handle a customer? Let's say you have they're driving traffic to your site, they leave, but they don't take an action. Is there a way to recapture that audience to try and pull them back to your site without, let's say they don't opt into your email list or something like that?
Yeah, and that's it's an amazing question. And yes, there is. And that's the amazing thing about having retargeting pixels set up on
Mm-hmm.
your website, either for Google AdWords or for Facebook ad or Instagram ads. So you have, and again, I'm going to go a little technical for a moment, but there's a few different ways Facebook in general, views you interacting with a website. So Facebook either counts you as a visitor if you don't look at any product pages or item pages, is one thing. So if you just hit the homepage and leave, you've just visited the website and we can retarget you. If you've started to look at different items, so, say you're looking at engagement rings, you looked at a mine cut engagement ring, you looked at a sapphire engagement ring, you've actually stepped one section further and you've started to interact with the products, we can now retarget you with what you've looked at. And you don't need to have opted into anything. You didn't have to opt into the pop-up that is there, any newsletter, but you've just started to browse. Then you can retarget with the products people have actually looked at. And those are called dynamic product ads.
Awesome. I love retargeting strategy because I think it's so important because it reminds people like, I'm always like, oh, busy, like on shopping online. Oh, shoot, I don't have time to check out right now. And then I'm on Facebook and I'm like, oh, that pair of shoes I was just looking at is following me around.
And I always buy it, and I think a really amazing point you make too, Tracy, is that Facebook ads and Google ads, which we'll touch on a little bit later, do an amazing job of following cross-device.
Yeah.
So if you are on, and again, tracking's imperfect. You have to be signed in on Facebook on your phone and signed in on Facebook on your computer, which most of us are.
Yeah. Not even by choice. It just happens.
It just happens. We don't even know. But if you browse on this happened to me the other day. I was shopping online, browsing on my phone. I found the checkout process really annoying on this website. So I didn't complete it. And they didn't retarget me later. And I was like, oh, you guys missed this great opportunity because I wanted to buy it, but I wanted to buy it on my desktop. And I think that especially the higher value the purchase, people want to feel like it's a little bit more secure and they're not necessarily using public Wi-Fi, all those other kind of security questions people have. Sometimes they just feel better on desktop. So having the retargeting strategy in place, I think, is the baseline need for an e-commerce store.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that insight and wisdom because I think it's really important. And one of the ways that you guys are going to get, if you're thinking about wanting to wake up in the morning with a ton of sales, I was talking with, during the series, I was talking with Melissa Camilleri Anasich yesterday, and she was talking about how it's been so amazing that she wakes up in the morning to 7 sales in her inbox. And I know that all of us are working towards that, sales even while we sleep or sales on autopilot, whatever you want to call it. And paid traffic is a great way to get there. So I wanted to sort of pivot this and what are some of the best ways to spend money to get paid traffic to your website? And then I want to talk a little bit more about how all these pieces kind of fit together.
Awesome. I love it. So I was thinking, there's a lot of different ways to do paid traffic, and we see this all the time in the Diamond Insiders group, Tracy.
Oh yeah. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Kathleen is one of our mentors in the Diamond Insiders and also is going to be a coach for our new coaching accelerator program that we're moving forward with. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
It's okay. Your people are my people, really, because I've literally sat in the chair that your people are in of trying to translate service-based a digital strategy to e-commerce-based digital strategy. And it's just different enough that it's a whole new strategy. So I love working with your clients for that reason, because I think that it's just a jump of information. And I see in the Diamond Insiders group that all the time people are like, hey, I have a Google AdWords credit. Should I use this? What about YouTube ads? There's so many options that I think people get overwhelmed. So I'll do a quick overview of the options and then prioritize my favorite. So, primarily we talk about Facebook ads, and we'll circle back to those at the end. Facebook ads, in my opinion, are the number one. They offer really interest-based targeting. So you can really find your niche of people. So that's kind of, it's interest-based targeting. It's really the only ad platform that has built this catalog of all of us who have opted in to use Facebook and become these, advertising dreams of, you can really micro-target people. So Facebook stands alone on that and is very powerful for that reason. Instagram ads sit right next to Facebook because Facebook owns Instagram ads. So they have similarly powerful interest-based targeting. Facebook, Instagram. So YouTube and Google are connected. And Pinterest works the same way. So I think these are really the 5 main things I see people have the most questions about. So Google, YouTube, and Pinterest ads are all based on keywords. So they're much more search query ads. So they can be more powerful, more profitable. They're much more expensive, especially Google ads in the jewelry space. For most of my clients, it's cost prohibitive. You're up against K Jewelers, you're up against these really big Brilliant Earth, these really big brands that have deeper pockets than a lot of the designers. I worked with a brand where we spent, you had to spend $100K a quarter. You had to spend $500,000 a quarter on Google AdWords. And at that level, the results don't matter as much as I know they do for smaller designers. They just need to spend the money. It's part of their line items of these big corporate budgets.
Yeah, and it's like part of their brand sort of exposure strategy.
Yeah,
it's like advertising, branding. Doesn't have to be as metrics driven, I feel like.
Exactly. So what I've found for jewelers is that Google ads typically are cost prohibitive. If you have a big site, it makes sense to do some retargeting ads. I think it makes sense to have a presence on Google.
So retargeting on Google. So that's like one way that you can get on the Google.
You could get on the Google with retargeting. I think especially people who have physical locations, it's powerful to show up higher on, Google rankings. And then you get into the SEO conversation. And I know you guys have a specialist you work with for the SEO world because that's its own ever-changing world. But I think that what I found for most jewelers is Google AdWords tend to be cost prohibitive. And that retargeting I find more powerful on Facebook is what I've found. Do you have any questions on Google AdWords? I know you wanted to make sure we touched on.
No, I just want to get your opinion on it because I've never done anything with Google for my jewelry business. We've only done retargeting for Flourish and Thrive, but I know that there's this conversation about, do I do PPC? Is it worth it? Or do I get in on AdWords? And I think that there's just not a lot of clarity around what the best strategy is. And that's why I wanted to have you talk about it.
Yeah, I think unless you're in, I've found for most jewelry terms, and you can go, you can play around. There's a keyword planner on Google and we can link to it in the show notes, and you can go and you can either put in your website and it will pull out the keywords that your website would populate.
Oh, cool.
Or you can put in some terms like diamonds and jewelry, and sapphires. And especially if you do something more unique, you can start to type those things in and then you can see how competitive that keyword is and what people pay for that keyword per click.
Wow.
And in the jewelry sphere, it's not uncommon to see $10 per clicks, $15 per clicks.
That's expensive.
It's cost prohibitive to, if you start to step back and do the math, that on Facebook we pay, we max out typically around $2 per click. And if you have a 3% conversion rate on your website, you need, I'm going to lose the math here, but you need a certain percentage of people who visit your website who actually will convert. Say you have a 1%, so you need 100 people to visit your website for one sale.
To get one sale. Okay, so go back to what they pay first, and then I have another question for you.
Yeah, so you're just, if you're using Google, maybe it's more, people are showing intent, so they're typing in sapphire engagement rings, so maybe they're more likely to purchase. So maybe you do want to pay $10 to get them to your website. But if you can get them on Facebook, where they're more interest-based and you're targeting on people who are recently engaged and things like that, and you're paying $2.50 for that person to come over, at that point, it ends up just being a math equation of how much can you afford to pay for traffic.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any sort of percentage or conversion rate that you a return on investment that's good, that's industry standard that people should be sort of working towards? Because I know in certain spaces, you spend X amount and then you hope to get this amount in return.
It's an amazing question, Tracy. And I think it trips people up. And I can talk about it in broad strokes. And I'll tell about how we've kind of figured this out in the agency. So in the agency, what we've started to really do is we have stores who do 10K and above, and they're in one sphere in our agency. They do up to $250,000. They'll do a lot of revenue per month. And at that point, we can really talk about return on investment. At that point, They've had enough clients come through. They have like lookalike lists, so we can find more people like people who've purchased from them before. They already typically have a lot of organic traffic through PR that they've done. They have a great product. So at that point, we can start to look at return on investment. With jewelry, I'm going to go for a pun here. Jewelry is so multi-layered. Facebook and Google track over a 28-day purchase cycle. So if you do custom work, if you do more expensive pieces that do take longer to purchase, you will lose that data. So you basically won't see if someone...
So you're not going to know your ROI.
Yeah, it's much harder to track your ROI. There are things like Wicked Reports, et cetera, and like some third-party apps that help you track over a longer period of time. But so for jewelry as an industry, we have all these different variables. I think that for our 10,000 and above people, we see anywhere between, consistent 2-time return on investment. We have clients who do pretty consistently a 5 to 10x return on investment. So they put $1 in, they get $10 out. So for them, it makes so much sense to advertise. And then our other sector are people who are emerging entrepreneurs and have emerging e-commerce shops. What I encourage them to do is focus on an awareness strategy. At that point, they just need more people walking by their store. We open these e-commerce stores and they're huge deals to us. And we open, I don't know the stat. I actually want to look it up of how many Shopify stores open each day, or Etsy stores. Yeah. We are one of many. So what we need to do is get people to even start walking by our store. So when people start Facebook ad strategies and expect a return on investment right away, that's where I see people turn off Facebook ads and say they don't work for me.
Yeah.
And what I love to say is you have opened, just equate it back to having a retail location. You've opened in the middle of nowhere right now, but we can move you to a very busy spot to get more people to walk by you. The Diamond District in New York City.
Exactly.
Get people walking by you, but it is pay to play. You have to pay rent to get those people to walk by you. So when my clients that in that 10K and below, what they really need to focus on is getting more people into their store, having these other sectors set up, having a retargeting strategy set up to recapture people, having the email strategy set up so their best salespeople are continuing to have these conversations. But when we focus on ROI right out of the gate, that's where I see people run ads for a month or two and say, hey, these just don't work. Whereas what we're seeing is you're getting so many more people into the store. So many more people are interacting with your products.
And it needs to be something that is consistent and that people will continue that they'll just continue to see, like walk by and see you and remember your brand. So it's like, I think that that's important. So it becomes this awareness campaign, right? For people spending under $10,000 a month in advertising. Describe how you think that ties into email marketing, because like one of the things that I heard you say, and I mean, I have opinions on this, of course, is that we're just trying to get more traffic to the site. And that in my opinion, one of the best traffic drivers is email campaigns because, there are people that you've captured, but not everyone always signs up for your email list right away, or, there's different ways to kind of tie these two together. So how would you suggest that people approach this like email automation to get new subscribers and also to bring traffic back to their site and to repeat customers? Like, do you have a strategy involved?
I do. And I love talking about this because I think it fits in so well with paid ad strategy, having an email strategy. And I'll see some of my clients do, 11% of their revenue per month via email. And it can go up to 20 to 30% of their revenue. So every time they're sending out an email, they're getting so many people to purchase. So I think that and then to step back to the Amazon, Etsy kind of debate of should I have my own website or should I only use third party? When you're using third party, you don't have the capacity to email. You don't have those names. They're not your people. Whereas your email list can be really profitable. So I think, email marketing is something I think really intersects well with paid advertising strategy. And what we love to kind of think about in the agency is we have the same 3 sets of people. We have people who don't know you, who need to understand who you are. We have abandoned cart, so people who've shown intent but haven't purchased. And then we have the loyalty, people who've purchased from you once before, getting them back in the shop. And we typically go about this with 3 different sectors or 3 different sequences. So we have what we call a nurture sequence, which would be, again, if someone walks into your shop, pretty much what you say to them, but obviously in a little bit more long form. But when I worked in shops, I always had a spiel, in the first email or first thing you say is, hey, welcome. This is a little bit about me. If you're offering an incentive to have people sign up for your newsletter, if it's a free gift with purchase, if it's free shipping, if it's, some sort of digital information, an ebook on how to buy an engagement ring online, something like that, you deliver it. So first email, you introduce yourself, you deliver whatever you say you're going to deliver. The second email, we love to have it be almost like other people have enjoyed this product too. So almost a social proof type email. So it can be quotes from someone who's been really happy with the product, any sort of press mentions. It's kind of where you're subtly talking about the social proof of your business. Like, other people like me. Here's some... I'm cool. Or just here's some real people have purchased from me. So we're really building trust through this nurture sequence. So it can be lifestyle photos, images from celebrities, if you've had celebrity placements, just that we're such social creatures. And we, especially buying jewelry online, we want to just make sure it's going to actually arrive. It's a legit business. It's not... not something sketch. Yeah, especially when people buy handmade pieces, especially, gold and diamonds online. There's a lot of trust that you are going to get what you say you're going to get. So in this nurture sequence, what we're really looking at is building trust. So we typically do 3 emails. First one, again, deliver whatever it says you're going to deliver. Second email is some social proof and a little bit more about your brand. And then the third email, we love to dive into the designer's story. So really why the business was started, how the products are made, maybe pictures of the studio. And, you just can think of it like a conversation. It would be exactly as you have that conversation as someone's coming into your shop for the first time. I love that. It's just, it's like, here's a little bit more about the designer, or, it's like you walk into the store and like all the press from the jeweler is up there, or the brand or whatever. We used to send press kits out to stores all the time. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. It's really well put. And so, the nurture sequence is really about building trust. And it's about, I think we have such an opportunity, that's why I love working with you, Tracy. It's handmade businesses are having such an amazing moment. We saw that with Etsy. People love to buy handmade pieces and they're not afraid to spend more for them. But they want they want to understand why they're spending more. They want to feel like they know the designer. And I think as designers, we have a unique opportunity because we see the world so differently. So we can really bring people into our world, show behind the scenes, and people just love that. Totally. So in your opinion, I know we sort of talked about this. When we tie all these things together using like a retargeting strategy, an automation strategy, abandoned cart sequences, you're trying to, get an awareness campaign, engagement or recapture maybe abandoned carts or people who didn't purchase, and then also create a loyalty campaign to try and get those previous purchasers back. How do you know when your paid advertising strategy is actually working? And I think it's a great question. So you have all the pieces in place, and I love to think about what we can control and what we can't control. So when we're looking at getting a new store, and just to make sure I said this correctly, when I think of my 2 sections of stores, I think of the clients who have $10,000 revenue per month. So there's, that much sales. So not necessarily they're spending that much. Oh, I was thinking their ad budget. Sorry. No. Okay. It's a great question. Earlier. Okay, cool. So at that point, they have pretty consistent sales. They're making, depending on their price point, 100 sales a month. Like they're just, they have kind of a machine that's going. And it might fluctuate, certainly, through the summer, it might be lower, but they're having a much more established brand. And then the people who are just starting out who maybe have some $10,000 months, but not necessarily consistently $10,000 months. The question is, how do you know if it's working? And what I like to say is what we have control over mainly is cold traffic. Are we getting traffic to the store? Are people, once they've come through, re-engaging with that product? So are they looking at retargeting ads? Are they adding to cart? And then obviously the ultimate thing is, are they purchasing? In an ideal world, we would just be able to say, this many people visited the site, this many people purchased. Great, I'll keep going. But in jewelry, it's just slightly more nuanced because it can take a little bit longer for people to purchase. And a lot of it is occasion based. So people are waiting for a birthday. People are, waiting for the holidays. So what I love to look at is at the top of the funnel for cold traffic. So again, that's getting people into the store. We look at 2 KPIs, which we call key performance indexes. We look at cost per click. And what we typically look for is cost per click under $2. So, that we've found to be the most sustainable number. If we kind of look at the conversion rate on the website, et cetera, we tend to look at cost per click and click through rate. So how many people who saw the ad actually engaged with the ad and took action.
And what's the KPI on the click-through rate?
The KPI is 1%. So out of 100 people, one person clicks through.
Okay, cool. So if you have anything bigger than that, that's good.
It's great. Yeah. And we see, in the agency, we'll see for cold traffic, people up to, 5%, 10%. And at that point, we know we have an ad that is correctly targeted to the right audience. People are engaging with it. And then what I like to look at is, are people moving through, again, air quotes, this funnel? Are people viewing the product page? Are people adding to cart? Are people purchasing? And I can send over a screenshot of how I set this up for Facebook ads to see how people are moving through. Because if you just are having people view the website and no one's viewing the products or no one's viewing or adding to cart, that maybe there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
But if you're seeing that people are moving through, and especially if they're adding to cart, and again, if you're on WooCommerce or Shopify, you have to add an email in before you get into the retargeting email, abandoned cart kind of sequence. So that's like its whole other layer. But if you see people adding to cart, that there's purchase intent. People are interested in the product. So at that point, I feel like the ads are going well, and it might just be over a 6-month period where you'll really start to see a lot of traction and ROI. So what I always love to tell clients is, okay, this is your budget. Let's expand it over 6 months. Let's have you spend less over a longer period of time. And that echoes what you were saying, Tracy, is we just want to be in front of people again and again.
Yeah, you want them to keep seeing your ads. Okay, awesome. This is so great. Thank you so much for being here, Kathleen, to explain all of this for us. And we are really excited to have you as a coach, which is going to be amazing because in our accelerator program, you're going to be coaching people one-on-one to help them with their digital marketing strategy, their email automation strategy, and then also their advertising strategy. So we're super pumped for that.
It's so fun. And I love talking about it because I think that it's really, it's so powerful. We need people to come into our shops. It's the lifeblood of the store. And then what do we do next? How do we get them to stay around? I know you're speaking with some e-commerce experts about, and I'm sure you'll talk about conversion rates and how to optimize a website to get people to purchase. And this type of strategy just goes hand in hand. And I love working with your people because they get that it's a holistic approach and, a big picture.
Big picture, holistic approach. I'm super excited about it. All right, my dear. Thank you so much for being here today. It's always a pleasure.
It was so fun to be here too, Tracy. Thanks.
Thank you so much for being here on the show today. Wasn't that a great episode with Kathleen? We even went over the normal time. So if you want to download our digital marketing momentum scorecard, head on over to the show notes over at flourishthriveacademy.com, episode 114. And then make sure that you check out our SOS Accelerator. We have a really great opportunity for you to jump in right now. The Accelerator includes 12 months of one-on-one coaching calls with our team of coaching experts. It also includes monthly group coaching calls with moi and quarterly digital marketing strategy implementation workshops that are about a half day. And these are going to be awesome. I'm going to be bringing in experts. We're going to be doing the work, getting your site set up, optimizing things so that you're getting more sales and helping you increase your online sales. Plus, I'll be giving away rewards for those of you who take action and get results. So it's a win-win for everyone. You can check that out over at flourishthriveacademy.com/SOS. That's flourishthriveacademy.com/SOS. Drop on over there and apply for the program, and we'll get on a call with you and help you decide if it's right for you. All right. Thanks so much for listening today. Take care until next time.